My name's Nicole G, owner of the Lash Box, eyelash vending machines, essentially. We're literally revolutionizing the way beauty products can be accessed.
Everything black on black. If I studied that facts on facts.
Welcome back to the Black is the New Rich podcast. I'm your host, Corey Cash, and this is episode 39. Today, we got a very special guest because, in my opinion, she's very creative, very innovative. And when I seen what she was doing, I'm like, yo, I have to get her on the podcast. But I don't want to take so much of her shine. Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Firstly, thanks for having me. My name's Nicole G, and I'm the owner of the Lash Box. It's eyelash vending machines, essentially.
Yeah. So when I seen your, actually, I'll tell everyone how I got to know about your business. So I released a video saying I was going to shout out different Black owned businesses, and I seen your submission. And when I seen that you have a vending machine for lashes, I was like, whoa, this is different. This is super creative. And I'm like, yo, I have to message her and I have to get her on the show because I feel like you have a lot of gems to give. So briefly, can you tell us about like your lead up, how you got to that point?
For sure. So it was during the pandemic, essentially, and I'm a makeup artist. Mm-hmm. So I was unable to do makeup during that time. And I just thought about, how do I get lashes to my clients? So I started selling lashes online or promoting lashes online. And at the same time, my brother, he lives in North Carolina. My younger brother, he just invested in a whole bunch of vending machines, snack vending machines. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And then again, alignment. One of my friends just happened to send me a reel of somebody who had started an eyelash vending machine in the US.
Okay.
So he sent it to me and I kind of looked at it and I was like, that's super dope. Mm-hmm. But I kind of just laughed it off because I'm like, that's something that I probably couldn't do.
Yeah.
So I just it passed. But then it just it kept coming back. Like it was just something about it that resonated with me. And I was like, I really want to get my products to my clients, but just, a wider demographic faster.
Yeah.
How do I make lashes? Like that was what I was selling. Like how do I make that more accessible? Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna look into this further. And so I just started doing some research.
Okay. So what type of research did you do when it came to finding a vending machine down here?
So I actually didn't find the vending machine down here. So the vending machines are from overseas. Okay. But I really wanted to see if there was an appetite here for vending machines, firstly, right? It was a concept that I saw that was moving in the States. Of course, the States is lit. They always have things that, before us, trending. So I was like, let me see if this is something that would actually, move here, So I contacted a mall that I thought I wanted the vending machine to be in. Yeah. And I reached out to the leasing manager and she was saying to me that it wasn't the first time that she was actually approached with the concept. So she said that somebody had approached her and it was something that they weren't interested in looking at right now because it was a pandemic. It was during COVID and they had a beauty supply store in the mall and they didn't want anything at that time to compete with the beauty supply stores. They said that, it's something that they're not interested in. And I was like, okay. And she said, well, do you have a website? Do you have, how much product can the vending machine hold? Mm-hmm. What's the dimensions? What else did she ask me? What would be the revenue split for the malls? And I was like, whoa. Like, I don't even have any of that. I'm really just inquiring to see would this be something that you'd be interested in? And so she basically just gave me everything that I needed, just everything that I didn't have. I knew right away, this is the things that I needed to get before I even went to
all that information that she asked you about.
Correct. So she even said, do you have a presentation? You have to have something to pitch to the malls or wherever you want this vending machine to be. So she also said that I think that you should consider bigger malls because at that time it was a small mall that I was thinking of. A smaller mall. And so she was like, you should probably consider trying to get into a bigger mall because they're looking to diversify their retail just because the pandemic hit so hard and a lot of businesses weren't doing well. They probably want to bring some new traffic to the mall. Ooh. So she was like, you probably should consider something like that. And I was like, amazing. Thank you so much. You'll talk to me again soon. And she was like, yeah, I'm sure I'll hear from her again. But But that just got the wheels turning for me. And I was like, okay, I need to find out where I can get, vending machines from. So I just started doing some research.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to get into your pockets a little bit because I'm very nosy. So ballpark price though, all seriousness, how much are these vending machines going for? Because when I seen them on Instagram, I seen you have like a nice display, like a computer display. I seen that people can choose their lashes and it'll come down or whatever. So I felt the presentation was amazing. So how much are you looking at if someone wants to try something like this out?
So I would say at least a 7 to 10 grand investment, depending on the style of the machine. So for me, I really wanted to have a touchscreen machine. I just wanted to bring something that was
the
new,
best,
right? People hadn't seen before. Like we're literally revolutionizing the way beauty products can be accessed. So I'm just like, this is not going to be, just an average machine. So I really wanted to make sure that it was something that people would be attracted to. So I guess the touchscreen was that was a way to go for me. But I think that if you went with something that didn't have a touchscreen, you'd probably be maybe 6 grand.
Okay.
Yeah.
But your advice if for someone starting up for something like this, you would just go hard or go home?
That's me. Yeah. Go hard or go home. So yeah.
Okay. And when it comes to, because what I noticed, it was the way it was wrapped and everything that came with it too, or did you do that down here?
So that's funny, actually. So when I decided that I'm going to go this route and, get vending machines, I had this whole concept in my head of what I wanted this vending machine to look like. So I started designing the machine. I liked the design. I sent it to the manufacturers, and then the machine went into production. But then I started looking at the machine after the design, and I was like, I don't think I really like this anymore.
Oh, geez. Did you send it in already?
I did send it in already. So the machine was already in production. And these things take months, right? So particularly shipping, to actually, the production wasn't very long, but shipping takes forever, especially because it was during COVID. So I literally, looked at the design and I was like, can I see this at, a Yorkdale, for example? And I was like,
smart.
no, I can't. Can I see this at a Square One? And I'm like, no, I can't. So I really wanted the machine design to reflect the
upscale
space. Exactly. I wanted it to be classy. I wanted it to say luxury. I wanted it to, just attract, just a diverse group of women and people interested in lashes. So I totally had to take it back to the drawing board.
Jeez. Scratch
the design, hired a design team, and just went through the whole design process all over again. So that was an expensive lesson for me, right? So when the machine finally arrived, I had to rewrap it with my new design. So it was an experience.
Learning lesson though. It's a good one.
Huge learning lesson. Definitely, get people around you to vet your design concepts and get feedback, right? I was literally I like it. I don't really care who else likes it. Yeah. Right. But then when my vision changed, at first it was I was pitching to a smaller mall. And when my vision changed, I was like, okay, I need to look at, what would really look good in a bigger mall, a bigger retailer space. And it wasn't that design.
True.
Right.
So what are some of the things that you noticed that you had to enhance your design that your first design didn't have?
I didn't think it was very inviting, the colors, the shape. So, there's certain, shapes, for example, that send messages about just, professionalism or, just more inviting, more flirty, more friendly, more youthful. So it was stuff like that the concept did not have.
Yeah.
It was black. It was all black, and it was gold.
Now it's pink. It's pink, right?
It's pink. Yeah, it's pink, black and white. And I just felt like those colors were just way more inviting and just playful, but also, it spoke to me. It said way more luxury to me than what my current concept. So I was like, yeah, and it's more marketable. It just seemed way more marketable than what I had. So yeah.
So how did you go about looking for your design team, and how much roughly what's that type of cost look like?
So I was fortunate enough to have a partner who already ran his own business.
Sick.
He was like, definitely don't give him enough credit. He'll be happy to hear that. So he was just giving me, like just pointers, like where to go, what to leverage.
Okay.
So I had already invested so much in the machine. You don't really have a lot of money to invest into a whole design team.
Yes.
So without saying, the platforms, like there's a lot of platforms that you can leverage, where you can pay, like less than what you pay for like a local designer, for example. And they actually are incredibly talented designers.
Are those overseas?
So platforms that usually utilize like overseas talent.
Okay, like Fiverr or something like that?
Something like Fiverr, but not Fiverr.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's different platforms where you can find designers, for example, that are half the cost that you'd be paying here.
Yeah.
And like literally like just incredible work, So that's kind of what, in fact, I did a contest. So I entered into a contest. I basically created a brief about what I was looking for. Yeah. And then I got a whole bunch of designers to create
sick.
A concept for me.
And then you picked one? Okay. That's sick.
Yeah.
Okay. Cutting costs. So you have 2 now, right?
I have 2, yeah.
Did you get them together, or did you get one and then you got another one?
Yeah. So I got the first one, and then maybe I want to say like 3 or 4 months later, I got the second one.
Jeez. Yeah. So, for people that don't know, where are your
right?
Where are your vending machines?
Our first location's in Pickering Town Center.
Yes.
And the second location is in Scarborough Town Center.
Okay, and the next one we'll see.
Hopefully, we'll be in the west. Like we're saturated right now in the east. Yeah. So I wouldn't say saturated. There's definitely like room for more, but I would love to be in somewhere in the west. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about like refilling your vending machine. Like, how long are you waiting for things to like sell out? How much are you putting in there? And like, what is the overhead compared to the profit? Is it really like worth it, or like how's that go?
So I think like with a vending machine, selling eyelashes is a lot different than selling chips or pop or something like that, right? So refilling is, I visit the machine on a bi-weekly basis.
Oh, that's good.
But I'm not necessarily refilling on a bi-weekly basis. Okay. So what I'm finding is it's a machine that holds about 500 lashes. I have about 30 styles of lashes in the vending machine, right? So it's like a lash overload, right?
Yeah.
So you'll find that people are drawn to specific styles. And so those were the styles that I'd be refilling a little bit more than others. So it's not, if I'm refilling, it's not a complete refill, obviously. It's just based on what's like selling right now, right? And I think it's definitely like a learning curve. Like you're learning your audience, right? And you're also building trust, because my brand is very new. Yeah. And I think the concept is very new, right? And typically when you see a vending machine, you don't think of spending $20 at a vending machine, for example, right? Yeah. Like traditionally you're going to spend, $5 the most, right? So you're introducing this concept of like selling something that's non-traditional, and then you're also pricing it a little bit higher, right? So I think that in and of itself can kind of either, it kind of can detract sometimes from the immediate sales. So I want to say that we've been building steadily versus like it hit, which I thought would be a complete plug and play. Like I was like, oh, like this is it. I'm going to plug this in and that's it, right? Yeah. But no, it definitely has been just observing like what people are buying and making changes. Even now, like there's some changes that I'm looking at making because it's a new concept, right? Like a lot of people are still getting familiar with this idea that, oh, there's nobody here. I'm just going to tap this and I'm going to get this product out and I'm going to like it. Yeah. You've never tried this product before. Yeah. You've tried lashes, but you haven't tried lashes from the Lash Box. So interesting.
Yeah. So have you taken any products out completely yet?
Not yet, but I'm going to. I think that I'm seeing that certain styles, for example, sell more in certain areas. So Pickering obviously has a very different demographic.
Oh yeah, it's a demographic matters too. Yeah,
than Scarborough Town Center. So definitely like seeing what is, what's moving really well in one place versus, okay, this is not moving at all. Or so seeing what people like is definitely something that I'm noticing. Yeah.
Okay. So I know you touched on it briefly before, but I want to kind of talk about like getting in the mall, the steps that got you into like, what was the first one? The Pickering Town Center was
Pickering
the first
Town
one?
Center, yeah.
So what was the first steps that you got that got you in the mall and made that deal happen?
So I'm just going to backtrack for a sec because a lot of people who own vending machines will say to you, you definitely need to secure your locations before you purchase your machine. Mm-hmm. So I did the exact opposite.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have any location secured.
Yeah.
When I purchased the vending machines, I was so like, I believe so much in the concept.
You're determined.
I said that I'm definitely going to find like a mall for this vending machine. And so I created a list of like my top 10, like this is exactly where I want it to be. And I just went down the list. So I just started cold calling. Like I just looked for all of the leasing managers that I could find. And I just started calling and just basically saying like, hey, is this a concept that you'd be open to? And most of the people that I spoke to were very positive. They were like, yeah, absolutely. It just happened to be female. But yeah, very positive feedback. Like everybody was super receptive to the idea. What becomes problematic about having a vending machine in a mall though is that for one, there's not many. And the reason for this, and I did get a few no's, you know, when I was like reaching out. In fact, I got one no from a man, right? I'm not trying to say anything, but just interesting. And so he was saying that, you know, historically they don't find vending machines to be profitable.
Interesting.
Right. So it's not something that they want in their retail space. And basically he was like, unless you can prove that, you know, your vending machine is going to be profitable, like we kind of don't want it right now. I'm not saying no, but I'm saying like not right now kind of thing.
So we want to see like some analytics first.
Correct. So I was like, okay, no problem. So when we got into our first location, I was like, okay, this is amazing. It took us 5 months to get there though, right? Like, so it wasn't a situation where it was like, oh, immediately when they said yes, we moved in. The next step is finding a location for this vending machine in the mall, right? Because
you get to pick that, or they kind of...
So that's the thing. So you think that most people will come to me and say, oh, you should put it here or you should put it there. But the reality is that you can't choose where it goes. The mall chooses where it goes, and stores have a lot of, especially like big retail stores have a lot of say in terms of like what is in front of their stores.
Oh, true.
So you can't put just anything in front of a store. There's contracts in place where, you know,
it's like zoning in the mall.
100%. Yeah, exactly. So I would love, like I spotted like 100 places and I'm like, oh, I'd love to put the machine there. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's really where they say that you can put the machine. And so, yeah, we found a location. The location in Pickering wasn't necessarily a high traffic area, but it was also my first location. So I was like, you know, I also want to pilot this and see like how it goes. Yeah. So I wasn't really too, you know, disappointed where it was, but also the machine requires like, because I went for a machine that has that touchscreen functionality, I need Wi-Fi, I need internet too, right? True. So I need to find a place where I can run a data line. And so that also limits where you can actually go. So, I mean, for someone who's looking at investing in a machine, you really want to look at that, right? Like, will you have that accessible to you? Yeah. If you don't, then you may want to think about maybe getting a different style of machine, right? So based on everything that I needed, like my requirements, like there wasn't a lot of places that I could actually go. Yeah.
Did they give you like, let's say like 3 or 4 spots and like, oh, you can go here or you can go here, you can go here?
So some places did, like when I was actually going through like the like different malls that said yes. But my experience was no, like they literally will have one place.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and they'll say like, this is kind of where it's going to be, you know? So for Pickering, I've actually moved and we're going to be moving again. So that's another thing. In the mall? Yeah. Okay. So you don't really have control over like the things that are happening either. So the mall could just say like, hey, we need to move, right? We need to move you and stuff like that. So you have to be open to that as well. Which, you know, I am, right? Like I'm happy to be there. So I'm not really, but ideally you want to be in a high traffic like area where there's like, you know, just organic foot traffic is kind of what you want. Okay. Yeah.
So my next question is like, when it comes to like, do you pay like a monthly fee to the mall or do they take a percentage of your sales? How does that work?
So each mall is pretty different and they'll like create a contract based on, you know, what their needs are. Yeah. Some places will say a revenue split based on what you're making, and some places will actually want you to pay some type of rent. Yeah. And it really depends on the type of mall it is, right? Like I feel like the bigger malls definitely the stakes are higher. Yeah. So but not necessarily. Like some malls are just like you can just pay a commission off because they really don't know how much you're going to make. And because I'm still new, I don't know how much I'm going to make.
There's no real data there.
So you can't really say the expectation is that you pay us $1,000 a month. What if that's, what if I don't make $1,000 for that first month, right?
True. Yeah. Are you pricing different depending on the demographic of where the mall is? How does that work?
No, so I'm not pricing differently. All the prices remain the same.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't think that was fair. Like if I go to a Yorkdale, the price is gonna be higher than Scarborough Town Center. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't for the same shirt in Zara, right? Yeah. So I didn't want to do that. So the prices are the same, but I think just looking at different pricing points, I think I wanted to make it easy. So I kept all the lashes at one price, but I realized that people want different price points too, right? Like you want to be able to purchase something maybe a little cheaper, for example. So looking at that as an option.
So you'll have like that style in there for them to do.
Yeah. So essentially having like faux mink lashes versus mink lashes or sorry.
I get it.
Yeah. So just having like different varieties, giving people options. Yeah. Price point options I think is important. So I'm seeing that as well, which things that you don't think about, right? Like you literally think that you're going to stock this machine and it's going to sell based on, but you realize that this is a storefront, right? Like this is actually like a storefront. So you really want to be able to offer people different things and at different pricing too.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the most surprising information that you've received so far? You learned so far?
Like the whole process has been like,
whoa,
just not what I expected.
Yeah. But
I think the biggest thing is that we don't think that, bringing like machines or electronics is regulated here. And it actually is.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning that you can't just buy something from overseas and just plug it in here. Okay. Like we have electrical authorities that regulate. Contracts? No, but they regulate, just your electronics, your machines, just to make sure that they meet our standards, our electrical standards, right? So for example, if the voltage is different, like you can't plug that into a mall. There's huge liability exposures there, right? If someone gets shocked or electrocuted and stuff like that. I'm thinking
about all that.
Right. So, and nobody tells you that, right? Like no one will say to you, hey, you can't bring this across the border because
the voltage is off.
You'll find that out when you're already in play. Yeah. And you realize like, oh my gosh, the inspector just arrived, which happened to me. The inspector just arrived and, is looking for your certification and they don't find it type of thing. Okay. Yeah. So that was probably the biggest eye opener is that I knew when I said to myself, like, how come no one's done this before? I thought there had to have been some red tape, right? Because everybody's seen I'm sure a lot of people have seen the concept, not everybody, but I'm sure there are people that have seen the concept and clearly have been interested, right? So I'm like, how come no one has ever done it yet? Like, why am I the first one to introduce this to Toronto kind of thing? And so I was thinking to myself, yeah, there must be some red tape. And I was kind of waiting for something to happen. To stop me, right? Yeah. And then I realized that could be it, or it could just be like people just like maybe having trouble bringing machines here or what. There could be so many different challenges at different points, but definitely like that was probably the biggest hurdle for me.
Did your first machine pass the voltage test or did you have to do some?
So I definitely had to bring the machine up to standard, like both of my machines.
Really?
Yeah.
And how do you even do that? How do you go about all that?
You have to get an electrician and like an inspector. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of money too, right? Like things that you didn't expect to be investing in or paying for. Yeah. You end up having all these like hidden costs, right? Yeah. Like with any business, you're going to run into these situations where you're going to have to like, things are going to happen, right? And you're going to have to foot the cost, but definitely something that I wasn't expecting. And even the malls weren't asking for that. Like usually they'll ask for specific things like your insurance and like, but just having, that certification, it wasn't something that they were asking. So I didn't really think it was something that I needed.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. But.
Okay. Yeah. So your initial cost for one machine is around ballpark 7 to 10K. Plus you need a graphic designer, which is back in range. Like, I'm not sure how much, but so like roughly with all the expenses tied to like your first machine, with the unexpected expenses, how much are we looking at around ballpark?
It was a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. I won't put a number to it, but it's definitely a lot. But I want to say like some of it is a one-time cost. Like the money that you're putting into.
What's the one-time cost things?
So the one-time cost would be like your design, for example, all the design costs and all the things that unless you plan on rebranding at some point.
True.
Like all those costs are one-time costs. Like you're not going to have to pay for that again, usually. What else? I think that's pretty much it. Okay. Everything else, like, and maybe like once you bring your machines up to speed, whatever, you won't have to do that again. Mm-hmm. But everything else is, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about like machine maintenance. How do you go about that? And are you there yet where you're maintaining it if something happens?
So it was interesting that you really have to start building like your key stakeholders like really early so that when things happen. So having people that, your team of people that, for example, a person that can service your machine.
Okay.
For maintenance.
Okay.
An electrician if something happens to the machine. Yeah, like on call, but like at least available, like you have someone to contact.
Yeah.
Like having your insurance, obviously, team, like having people that, can make sure that you have the right coverage to be in the malls type of thing. So you start assembling like, your team, your design team, like you have a whole bunch of people that you're utilizing now, right? For different things. And so it just so happened that when my first machine came, like I was having an issue with it turning on. And so I immediately had to start looking for like an electrician, not an electrician, but someone who actually serviced the machines, right? Yeah. And so I happened to find this person and he figured it out and I was like, perfect. I added him to my directory because I'm like, this is someone that I might need down the road for sure, right? Mm-hmm. And so you slowly start just accumulating like a whole bunch of like different people that you realize that you need now to operate your business. In the event that something happens, you can call them. So luckily I haven't had any situations where I've had to have like a maintenance call. Most of the things that I've had, it's between me and the manufacturer, and I literally will just reach out to them and we're able to like solve it on our own. Mm-hmm. But definitely having people like readily available that you can call to help you fix the machine, because the worst thing is having a machine that's down, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to have like your machine off, for example, in the mall, right? So
that'll be a hit to your business, right? That's not a good look,
right? And the mall is going to be like, what's happening? Why is your machine off? You know what I'm saying? So you really want to make sure that whatever happens, you can get it resolved like super quick.
Okay. So what are you doing right now when it comes to marketing?
So marketing right now is really pretty simple. Like initially I started off and I said, I'm going to rely on really organic foot traffic, because in my head I was going to be in these high traffic spaces in the mall, right?
True.
But I'm starting to see that that's not necessarily the case. Mm-hmm. So right now we're focusing on social media, but as we lean into 2023, we're going to move into more Facebook ads and Facebook groups as well.
Yeah.
SEO, like getting our website, like making sure that it actually gets listed in the right way, so attract the right, the right people to our page and stuff like that. So just way more. I feel like we're still taking baby steps. In fact, because it's really just me. Yeah. Like it's doing a one woman show right now. Yeah. So, and I'm still working full time.
And doing this.
And doing this. And I also am a makeup artist, as I mentioned, right? Which is not my full time. So just really like a lot of hats and trying to manage everything is sometimes super overwhelming. Yeah. So, but now that I feel that things are starting to, it's more stable, I can focus on our marketing efforts a lot more. Another thing that I learned is just like slow down. Yeah. Like initially I was like, I want to have a machine in every single mall in the city. Yeah. And I want to do it ASAP. Yeah. And then I realized that you really want to build a strong foundation, right? You really want to make sure that what you have out there is sustainable. There's no point in having 5 machines if 2 of them are not working, or you're having issues with one location, it's not generating enough revenue. Why would you have 6, right? So I really start to scale back and think about, okay, I really need to do this properly. Like I really want to build a strong foundation, right? Before I start to expand. So that's what I started to focus on. I just kind of pulled the reins back in and I was like, listen, really look at revenue growth, revenue generation before I start expanding to like different places.
Yeah. So even though you kind of touched on it a little bit and that you're not going to go that route just yet, how would you look to expand in the future? Like, would you look to have like partnerships or like where people can, I guess, lease these machines from you? Like, have you ever thought about that?
So I thought about that, like down the road.
Yeah.
I haven't, like, it's not something that I'm like looking at right now, but definitely I've had people reach out to me and ask if they can buy the machines and stuff like that and
pay you a cost or something.
Right. And so of course, like, I feel like we've created a really, and I say I'm so used to saying we, but it's really like, I've created a great blueprint. Like I'm building a blueprint, right? Yeah. Which I think down the road is something that definitely can be duplicated if needed.
Yeah.
But for right now, in terms of expansion, it's really just brand exposure, like building our brand. So right now, outside of the vending machines, we also have our products in a retail store. So Shop 20 Inc. carries or lashes, right? And so for me, that's also a really great way to get people familiar with your brand without investing in another machine right away. So one of our goals is to get into some more stores to just get our product out there so that when people actually walk through a mall and they see the Lash Box, it's like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. Yeah. So-and-so had that in their store. So really it's like building that brand recognition and more exposure for the brand before we start looking at like scaling.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. So what are some challenges that you're maybe going through like right now with the vending machines?
So I think a recent challenge is, for example, like location of the machine.
Oh yeah.
So for example, with one location, we're moving. So this is like our second time moving. So every time that we've moved, we've lost traction.
Oh,
and it's almost like we have to build it up again. Yeah. And people get used to seeing us in a certain place, right? Yeah. And suddenly they're going to come to buy their lashes and we're not there.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit challenging, right? Because you really want to create this brand loyalty and get people to come back. You want to have that retention. And if we're gone or we're not in that same place, then how are they supposed to find us?
Yeah.
And we're really like, we're at the mercy of like the malls, right? Yeah. Like they're the ones that are kind of determining where you're going to be. So I think that's a big challenge. For our Scarborough Town Center location, we have a touchscreen machine. So not just a small like little screen, but a big touchscreen machine. And with this machine, you can't see the product.
Oh, so, you can't see it like through the glass screen?
Yeah, so there's no glass. You're literally just like looking at this digital screen and you're choosing this lash selection that you want. Right? Yeah. And that's different. Yeah. Right. A lot of people, when they look at a vending machine, they see the product, you know, I think I like this one, and the product drops and they pick it up. Right. So that's kind of a new thing as well that I'm testing out at that location. Yeah. It's how do people feel about just buying something that they're seeing a picture of, an image of. Right. So, you know, and I can't say that the sales could be slower because of that, because it's so early that it's so hard to determine. Yeah. So I think that's it too, like just being so young and so new in this space. Yeah. And really trying to like pivot as quickly as you can when you notice like, okay, this might be something that's impacting our sales. What can we do to change that? So yeah, I think that's
the biggest challenge
right now. Those are probably
the
the challenges right now. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So what was the thought process on getting a machine without this screen? Because that's super interesting to me.
To me, it was so futuristic. Like, I feel like vending machines are the future. Like if you go to the airport, for example, you already see they have like a Source vending machine. They have like a makeup vending, or I don't know if it's not at Pearson, but there's airports that have like a Sephora vending machine, for example.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, vending machine, there's a cake vending machine, Cake Boss vending machine.
That's a pizza vending machine I've seen.
Right. So there's like vending machines are really like the way of the future. I feel like this is the way that people are going to start purchasing, you know, maybe not everything, but definitely things that they wouldn't typically have purchased before. Right. Yeah. And so for me, it was like, I just loved like this huge screen. I felt like I could even run ads on the screen if I wanted to.
Yeah. Like paid ads from other companies?
Paid ads. Ooh, like
smart.
So I thought that was, I can't credit that as my own idea. That's my partner's idea.
Okay, but, shout out to him.
Yeah, like, you know, just ways that it just seemed just way more interesting. Like it just seemed so much more dope to me than just the average machine. I thought it would attract a lot more people. And it just looked good. Like it was just something that was so different that I was like, yeah, this is it. Didn't know how it would do, and still learning about it and if people actually like that. But I think that the concept is something that we're gonna see that way more now than before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what type of feedback or positive feedback are you getting right now?
So a lot of people are saying that they love like just the idea of like being able to purchase their lashes from a vending machine, for example. It's quick. The variety, you know, and that was another reason why I wanted to like get something that had an ability to offer people more selection, right? Because I found as a makeup artist, right?
Okay.
As a makeup artist, I felt like what I was able to find in stores was so limited.
Oh,
you know, sometimes you want to get longer lashes, or you want your lashes to be a little bit more fluffy, or you want them to be a little bit more natural. And right now, it's only the beauty supply stores or Sephora or Shoppers where you're really getting your lashes from. So I kind of felt like it would be nice to have one place where you can get a whole bunch of different styles of lashes, for example. And so that was it for me. I'm like, yeah, let's do this and let's offer people more and at a convenience, right? Like you don't have to wait in line. You don't have to, you literally just can go. And so I think that a lot of people are receptive to that. But also because it's new, right? Like it's something they've never seen before. So a lot of people are like, oh, this is such a dope concept. So I think that we're running off of like novelty as well. Like people just love the idea of being able to like get lashes from a vending machine. Yeah,
because when I see it, I'm a guy, I don't ever wear lashes, but when I see it, I was like, no. This is different. This is going places. So for sure, I feel like that, that shock factor is super interesting. So do you like, this is something I would do if I had like a business like yours. Like, do you ever just go by your vending machine and just watch people?
I do.
I would do something like that just to see their behaviors and stuff like that and their reactions and stuff.
Yeah, like 100%. So I wish I could actually do more, but unfortunately I have to be at work. But sometimes, like, for example, like when I'm looking at reporting, so that's something that we didn't touch on, but being able to see, like, I have an interface where I can see all my transactions, all my, like, the sales history from my phone. So I'll oftentimes see transactions that weren't completed, for example, like incomplete transactions. And I'm just I want to know what happened, right? Like I want to be able to see what happened. So there are times when I've just gone to the machine and just like kind of just hung around and just observed like, what people were doing when they got to the machine.
True.
When I first got to Pickering, I was seeing a lot of, like I said, incomplete transactions. So I wanted to know why. And so I was realizing that there was something about the way people were tapping their card. Like they seemed to be tapping their card and taking it away too quickly. And so transactions weren't going through.
Yeah. So they would see decline on it or something like that? Or just...
So it just would like say transaction canceled.
Oh, and right? Then
and then they would just be like, okay. And then they just like, they'd move on, right?
Okay.
So I had to put up a little like how to, just to make sure that people were holding their card long enough for the transaction to go through.
Yeah.
So with stuff like that, where I was kind of learning about like the behaviors, like when people were approaching the machine. But then I also would hear people, like commenting, like I hear people saying, for example, one person was like, that must have been like a college student that came up with this idea. Like, had to have been a college student, it's smart person, whoever they are kind of thing. And I would just kind of stand there and, or someone would come up and be like, oh, have you tried these lashes before? I'm like, 100%. Best lashes in town, So, stuff like that. But sometimes I'll hear people say, oh my gosh, $20 for lashes, like I'm going to go to the hair store or something like that. So I take that feedback away as well, right? Because it's like, I understand and I appreciate the fact that you're just seeing this brand pop up. Why do you want to spend $20 on a pair of lashes, right? And so, but what I do say is try them. So like when I'm there, I'll often like hand out lashes to people.
For like as a free sample?
For free, yeah, for sure. Because I want people to try our product. You know, like I know that once you try the lashes, you'll love them, right? And that's the feedback that I've gotten. Like everybody loves the lashes. It's just a matter of how do I get these into your hands, right? So whenever I'm there, like I'll definitely like give people lashes and like, especially like younger, I find like the younger crowd, like high school students often are always like, oh, you know, the price.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, here, you know, like
Take
try
them.
some, let me know how it is, tag us, you know, and let us know, like, you know, if you like them type of thing. And I take that feedback away.
Okay. So that sparks a next question for me. Do you do pop-up shops still, or did you ever do them, or how does that work?
So I literally went from
pandemic to
go big or go home, right? Like I literally went from, you know, having this idea of like selling lashes online to just boom, vending machines. So no pop-up shops, not something that I'm not opposed to, definitely interested in doing it. It's just a matter of, you know, do I have the time right now?
Oh yeah, so it's really just, everything.
You really just want to, you know, not spread yourself too thin, and you really want to go where you're gonna get the biggest return on your investments type of thing. True. So definitely have, you know, some partnerships in mind for like, you know, 2023, like Caravana and like places where you'll really have like that audience. But I haven't done like any of like the smaller pop-up shops yet.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so I asked these last two questions. I asked them to every guest. And the first one is, what is your best advice that you've gotten, and what's the worst advice that you've gotten? And you don't have to say any names.
The best advice I've gotten was just to keep your word. Like, and it's really, it kind of steps outside of business, but then it doesn't, right? Like when you say you're going to do something, do it. Cause that's your integrity. Like you have everything riding on that. Right. Yeah. And so the way that people see you, the way that they take you or your business seriously is based on what you say you're going to do. 100%. But I'm also the type of person that I don't talk a lot. Like I really don't say much, but I'm always working. And so when that time comes where I'm ready to show everyone what I'm working on, I know that it's something that I've put like everything into, and I'm really proud of it at that point. Yeah. Right. But yeah, it was really, I think that was probably one of the best things that someone said to me was, you know, just do what you say you're going to do. Yeah. If you give someone your word, do it. Be a doer. Yeah, do it.
Okay, lit. So on this show, we like to make predictions. So in 5 years, I'm like, yo, Nicole did say she was going to do that. Where do you see yourself and your business in 5 years?
So I definitely want to have the Lash Box in some big box stores. So I see the Lash Box in Sephora. I see the Lash Box in Shoppers. Cool. And I also see more vending machines. Okay. So I want to have a vending machine at the airport, for example. So just expanding. I don't necessarily know if I want to be across Canada yet. Yeah. But definitely having a few more vending machines under our belt, but most importantly, just being in the bigger box stores for sure. Okay, amazing. Yeah. I'll definitely be looking out for those lashes. I appreciate that. Because honestly, the idea, it really inspired me because I just seen the creativity and I was like, yo, that's going places for sure. So I'm really excited to see your journey. But before you go, just let everyone know how they can contact you. For sure. So you can follow us at CB Lash Box on Instagram. You can check out our website at www.cblashbox.com. Yeah, that's pretty. We're not on Facebook. Malls? Oh, yes. How can I forget? You can find us at Scarborough Town Center, entrance 7, and also Pickering Town Center. Right now, we are beside Aldo, but we will be moving soon. So stay tuned for that new location. Okay, dope. I just want to say thank you for coming on. I know you were super like tired and busy from the trip and everything. So I appreciate it. I felt like you gave a lot of gems here. And actually, before you leave, have you ever thought about, and I know you don't want to spread yourself too thin, but I'm just going to plant the seed. Sure. Have you ever thought about teaching others like in a course or something like that to get their own started? 100%. So definitely something that I thought about. I think that a lot of people don't know the undertaking that they're getting into when they think about a vending machine. And so there's so much to it. And I really have been thinking about putting together some type of course to kind of help people, guide people along. Yes. Just consult, right? Like you just really want to have someone to bounce stuff off of, like when things go wrong, or how do you approach a leasing manager, for example, or approach a mall or a location to kind of get your vending machine there, or open to the concept. Like there's so much, how do you create your presentation? Like there's so much. So I absolutely have thought about it, and hopefully I can actually,
because I could see that taking off, because with courses, and especially with online today, like you create it, it's evergreen. You create it once, you sell it forever.
That's right.
And then you just make tweaks, right?
That's right.
I definitely can see you in the teaching space, and because this is an idea that a lot of people, if they listen to it, they'll be like, oh, you know what? I want my own.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I would love it. Like I don't really care who else comes with another vending machine, that sells lashes. I think really it's about innovation.
Exactly.
Right. And it's about like just revolutionizing the way that we access products, right?
Yes.
Like we don't have to wait for that store. We can create our own storefront just based on just having our own machines, right? And then you're generating income without even being there.
Exactly.
Right? Like I'm on vacation and I'm checking my sales.
Yeah.
Right? And how much sales are coming in. So like that's what we should be aspiring to.
Yeah.
So I'm always open to like helping people, get there for sure.
Okay, dope. So Nicole, thank you for submitting your information, because honestly, if you didn't submit that information, I probably wouldn't have came across or crossed paths yet. So thank you for that.
Thank you for being interested.
Yeah, no worries.
Not a lot of men like see the concept and are like, yo, this is amazing. I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of guys have definitely been receptive to it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you invited me on your platform to talk about it is amazing. So thank you.
No problem. It's going places. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's episode 39. Till next time. See you next time. All right. Thank you.
Everything black on black. If I studied that facts on facts.